right, good afternoon. This is Financial Fitness Fridays. This is Coach Honey Shantay. There I am live. Hello to my folks in the West Coast. Hello to my folks in the East Coast. Hello to my people in the South. Hello to my people up north. Hello, good afternoon. We are live. And so we're going to keep this thing going. We've been talking about 4 areas of entrepreneurship and business and how to turn it into a profit or revenue. So we're going to talk about these areas today. We're going to keep it going. I'm excited. So I have tons of notes. So for those of you who are note takers, get your pen, your paper. Let's go. If you have, you got a recorder, record what I'm about to talk to you all about. I think today is probably one of the most important ones of the series. Actually, all of them are important, actually, so you can't go wrong. But there's more meat on the potatoes, as they say. More meat, more meat and potatoes, I should say, today. More meat and potatoes today to really make it stick to your bones, as they would say. So today, I urge you, I encourage you as well to get your pen, your paper. Let's take notes. Lots of information going to come your way. So if you are a type of person who like, data, information, this is the one for you. If you are one to say, hey, look at Shantay, I'm looking to try to grow and scale my business. How can I get this thing to grow and be sustainable? This conversation today, this live today is for you, you, and you. And for those who say, I want to have some fun, I want to learn, but I want to have fun, then hey, let's have some fun. And we can learn at the same time. So if you are that person, you say, hey, Shantay, I got a short amount of time. Let's get this thing going because we ain't got time to waste. So today is going to be one of those calls. You will not waste time. You will get your value. It's going to be a lot of value that I'm bringing today. So if you're a person like myself who likes value, then you are in for a blessing. You are in for a blessing because today is all about lots of value, lots of information that I want to kickstart off this live. Let someone know I'm live. Like it, share it with folks. I think I know the information is going to be valuable. I know that I speak that humbly that it is. So with that being said, because we know time, we know we ain't got all day long, so let's jump into these. So we talked about, just to recap for those who are coming in on part of the series, some people jump in on the middle of the movie and they try to figure out what's going on. So let me give you a quick, Cliff Note version of what's been taking place these last 2 weeks prior. So the first thing we've been talking about is the 4 pillars or the 4 areas of entrepreneurship. This is for entrepreneurship and for business owners. So the first one we talked about philosophy. We talked about that. I gave the example about the McDonald brothers. We talked about that. We talked about systems, and we talked about how the same McDonald brothers had a system that would cause their business to flow, because system produces infrastructure. So we talked about philosophy. The second week we talked about systems. You need systems. We talked about Chick-fil-A and all that good stuff. So we talked about how they did their business and how you got to respect it. Whether we eat the food or not is one thing, but in terms of how they did their business is a whole other story. We talked about Amazon as well. So we talked about these different businesses and how they done their business in their sphere of influence. Like one is in restaurant industry and one is in retail industry, but nonetheless they have been successful in what they have done. And so as an entrepreneur, we want to make sure for those who are entrepreneurs or aspiring to be entrepreneur, or those who are business owners and want sustainability and scalability, then these are some important nuggets that I believe is worth noting, and also how they've done their business as well. So with that being said, our third part of our series, today we're going to talk about infrastructure to profit. So infrastructure to profit is our third pillar or our third area that we're going to explore. We're going to do a deep dive into that today. I mean deep dive. And I'm going to read a couple of things to you all that I just know that it's going to be really, really good for you. So let me tell you why infrastructure is so important. So I'm going to give you a lot of whys and what happens if you don't have it. So all these different things we're going to discuss and we're going to explore together. So the first one is infrastructure is the link, or you can say it's the bridge, or you can say the overpass for or between entrepreneurship and sustainability and profitability. So let me repeat that again. Infrastructure is the link, you can say the overpass, you can say the bridge between entrepreneurship and sustainability and profit. So that's why infrastructure is so important. So let's dive more into that. So infrastructure gives vision structure. So for those who are visionaries, we know that we want things to be clear. We want to know where we're going. Visionaries, we want to make sure people have clear instructions. And so, however, we want to make sure we communicate our vision. So, but infrastructure gives vision structure. Many entrepreneurs are visionary, including myself. I am very much so a visionary. I am. So we will be very much visionaries. But what I have learned personally, what Shantay has learned, what I have learned, vision without structure becomes frustrating. I had to learn that the hard way. Still getting better. That's still getting the best of me, but I'm getting it. I got the understanding, and I get the value of it and the importance of it. Like, as I'm even talking to you all, it's reinforcing things to me, and I say that very humbly because it is. I was just sharing it with someone before I got live today. I said, it's really making me be mindful as well, constantly being mindful. That's what be in the frontal of my mind. But I had to learn those things, and I'm learning these things even now. I'm still learning. I don't have it all figured out. But I learned a thing or two, and now I'm sharing these things I'm learning to you all. But it does cause frustration when these things are not put in place. You're frustrated. You're frustrated because your money is low. You're frustrated because things ain't going the way you want it to go. That's why these things are so important to have in place. And so now, with that being said, many entrepreneurs try to grow revenue. I was there, guilty as charged, try to grow revenue before building a system. And a lot of times we just get out there, we just jump into doing things. Somebody said, we got this opportunity, you just jump on it, and we don't take the time to build a system or value a system. We just want to get out there and we got to figure it out. It's like having a baby and nobody tell you how to take care of the baby. You have no understanding on how to do it. And you don't have nothing put in place. Now, I know that when we take a baby, we have a baby, we don't know what we do when we first time mom, but you may have those who have done it and you learn from them. You still got to have some trial and error. But a lot of times, many entrepreneurs, if we was to be truly honest and transparent, with ourselves, a lot of times we may jump into it and we don't have nothing put in place. So a lot of times we want to make sure we have these things put in place. And then when you have these things put in place, it's supposed to guarantee, or it's supposed to ensure, or at least lead on a path, which it will, of profit, revenue. But sustainability, but sustainable success comes when the infrastructure grows alongside opportunity. So back to what I just said a moment ago. A lot of times we want to have these opportunities. We start these opportunities. We jump into these opportunities, which is fantastic because that's a step of faith that you're operating in. But understand that you do want to have a system put in place. You want to have infrastructure put in place. These things are what we call non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. That means it's not up for grab, it's not up for chance, it's not debatable, you're not negotiating it. It is actually a must. And a lot of times we don't teach that. That's why I think this is so valuable and so potent, is because we just jump into things and then we get mad because it didn't work. It did not work because there was not things put in place. It's not going to work fully or like it should, or you desire it to, unless these things are so taken seriously. And I take these things so seriously because I had to learn it the hard way. Bump my head a few times over and over. And now I respect it because it's something that I have to honor. It's like principles. You cannot change a principle. That's like a law. You cannot change that. You have to honor it. You have to respect it. And if you don't, then you get frustrated. You're like, well, my money ain't right. Or I can't do this business. Or I can't do this opportunity. It's frustrating. It's hard because you never took the time to put these things in place. But you jumped out there, which is okay. You jump out there, but you jump out there having alongside opportunity, you making sure you're building systems and infrastructure. Now, some of us got systems down, but we don't have infrastructures down, which is why we're talking about that today. So last week was systems. Now this week is infrastructure. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So let's talk about, it's a quote I read. I want to read this quote. I thought this quote, it made me pause and think. It really did. It says, a business rarely outgrows the strength of its infrastructure. I'm going to read that one more again. It says, a business rarely outgrows the strength of its infrastructure. So that means if the infrastructure is not there, the business will not live out past it. It will not go out past it. It's almost like someone saying that you are as strong as your weakest link. So if the infrastructure is weak, then your business will only grow so much. So it's important to have infrastructure. It really is. And I'm saying that for myself, for those who are listening, those who watch the replay. It's super important when you're in the place of entrepreneurship or you're looking to really build your business or scale your business, even the more. So infrastructure give vision structure, as I mentioned before. And this other thing I want to say that I think is important, that infrastructure takes ideas, goals, creativity, and opportunities and organize them in a executable system. So let me repeat that again because that's important. So a lot of us have goals, like myself. We have ideas. We are a creative being, and we have these different things we want to accomplish, and these opportunities that we are exploring, the opportunities that we're in. But however, when you have an infrastructure, it organizes them to make it executable within your system, so that you can turn a profit, so you can see volume, which we'll talk about that next week. But let's talk about what happens when you don't have infrastructure for a moment. So let's talk about what does that look like when you don't have infrastructure. What's happening in your business? What's happening when it's not there? And like I said, this is something I had to learn. I had to learn this. I really did. I really, really did have to learn this. So the first thing is when you don't have infrastructure put in place is opportunities get missed. Yep, opportunities get missed. Communication breaks down. That means people don't have clear understanding, don't have the clear vision. The infrastructure is not consistent somewhere. Growth becomes inconsistent. And it is true. I can testify that. I'm a witness of that. It is. Growth, it becomes inconsistent. This is the fourth one, which is a big one. Entrepreneurs get burnt out. Like I said before, some people quit. Some people give up. They give up too fast. They don't stick through the process. Not only do they don't stick through the process, but they lose heart. And a lot of times because they don't have these things put in place. Like I said, when you don't have these things put in place, it does make it challenging. No doubt. I mean, to the best of the best, it becomes very challenging. But however, now we get a little more insight, we get wisdom, and we get guidance, we understand that, hey, these things are important. I got to have this in place. And sometimes you say, well, how do you put it in place, Shantay? How do you build infrastructure? That's a different conversation. That's when you're really talking to me one-on-one. That's when you really work with me. That's different. But to know what you need to do, I'm providing that. So with that being said, entrepreneurs get burnt out because they are doing all the legwork. And it is dependent on them. Remember I said last week, I said that a true business is independent of you. When you want to build a true business, not as something that's self-employed, not something that is commission, but you don't have nothing that's building outside of you, depending on you. That's independent of you. When it's dependent on you, it only relies on you. That means that you only making money when you are there. But you want a true business that's independent of you. It's outside of you. So a lot of times entrepreneurs get burnt out because they do all the work. They do all the lifting. And it's challenging. It's not easy. A lot of times people say, I can't do this. This is too much. Or I can't put nothing on my plate. It's because what happens is that they don't have these things put in place to where they can expand and scale. They can expand their business and scale at the same time. That's why. Let's have a heart-to-heart conversation here for a moment. Let's be honest. That's why. It's hard to scale or even expand if you're doing everything. I mean, everything. And there's nothing put in place to help you along the way. There's nothing independent of you. It is challenging. So that's why I said those are what we call single-handed when it's all dependent on you. That means it's like having a job. It's dependent on you. You there, you get paid. You not, you guess what? You ain't gonna get no income. They're gonna be firing you after a while. You just don't show up for work. But when you have something that's truly independent of you and you're scaling it, you have the right infrastructure put in place. Everybody's understanding. Everybody's getting it. Everybody's on the same wave. I'm telling you, it makes things smoother and a lot easier. It really does. It really does. So that was the one thing I wanted to mention, that a lot of entrepreneurs do get burned out because of that. So that was in my notes. And it happens. It happens. But it's so important the infrastructure is there. So let's talk about infrastructure, even the way how, when you do have it in place, how it brings more profit to you. So let's talk about that. So it's 8 points that I want to talk about. 8 points that I know it's calling me. Somebody like to call me when I'm live, but when I'm not, sometimes my phone may not ring like that. But when I'm here, it's just like somebody loves to call when I'm live. But however, let me list out these 8 points of how infrastructure really turns you to having a profit. So let's talk about how systems build your infrastructure that turns vision into sustainable profit. Vision becomes aligned. So it creates efficiency. So strong infrastructure eliminates waste time, eliminates unnecessary expenses, which is what we all like to, especially if you entrepreneur, you got to knock down those expenses, of course. And of course, it brings clarity. Clarity is present. That means vision is clearly being executed or articulated and shared. And so support scalability. Now, this is the one we talked about last week quite a bit, or at least I ended up sharing this part a little bit about scalability. Scalability, the only true way to scale your business truly is when it's independent of you. I cannot emphasize that enough. A lot of times we want to get business, we want to do the business by ourselves. We say, I don't want to bring nobody else on. Like, how are you going to make a business scalable? How is it going to truly become scalable? Think about that. The whole thing about entrepreneurship is to have a business, but you want to scale it. You want it scalable, you want to monetize it, you want to have these things put in place. You do. We do. And so a lot of times when I listen to people speak, they say, I can't do this. I'm so busy working on this. Yeah, you work on that, but what are you putting in place? What is in place to help it grow, help it flourish? So support scalability. So without proper infrastructure, growth creates pressure. It does. That's why the people don't want to spend. So I got so much on my plate because they don't have infrastructure put in place and it's not scaling them. And so it feels like pressure because they don't have these things in place in what they're currently doing, and they already feel the pressure. And so because they already feel the pressure, that means anything else is like added pressure because they haven't figured out this over here fully yet. I'm telling you, listen to people talk, you hear it. And so growth becomes small. It becomes small. So I get the pressure. I understand. So the good news is when you have a proper infrastructure, when you have that put in place, growth creates opportunity. So when you're growing, opportunities comes your way. It does. And you're able to take advantage of those moments because now your business is scaling or your business is expanding. And you want something that expands beyond you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so it not only creates opportunity, but infrastructure allows leaders, entrepreneurs, and businesses to expand without collapsing under pressure. That's a big one. It allows you to not collapse under pressure because you have this foundation in place. These things are in place. Is it easy sometimes to put these things in place? It ain't always easy, but it's a necessary thing to do. And you have to just kind of be solid about that. So it builds consistency. As you consistent with customer services, experience to have great reviews. We know that people read reviews. So therefore, when you have your infrastructure in place, it creates a process where everyone feels like they're getting the same service. We talked about last week, Chick-fil-A. Now, we know we went to Chick-fil-A and somebody said, "You're welcome." We'll say, "Hey, that's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, 'My pleasure.'" That's a system. That's an infrastructure. That is a consistent service. That's a consistent customer experience that each and every last one of us experience every time we go to a Chick-fil-A, for an example. So we know it does that. And so what happens is when people getting the same great service, when it's time to give reviews, which we know we all read reviews before we do anything a lot of times. So it gives that business or the entrepreneur opportunity to have great reviews because they have this thing put in place. It's everybody getting the same service. That system, that infrastructure is working like a well-oiled machine. So that is super, super important. It's consistency. And so what happens with that consistency, it helps with branding, building trust that leads to what? Retention, referrals, and recurring revenue. So I would say those three once again. It leads to retention, referrals, and recurring revenue, which we want profit. So we know if we give everybody the same service, and it's funny because when I meet with people, especially when I have like little gatherings, I say certain things and I say it often. And it's like part of my system, it's part of my process. So everyone will get the same experience. Everyone's getting the same service over and over again. Nobody's getting this type of Shantay, that type of Shantay. No, it's the same Shantay day in and day out. It's consistency. I'm showing up the same way. I'm very energetic. I'm showing up with energy. I'm not going to come on and quiet and be just like arms folded and just quiet. Well, how you doing today? No, how you doing? How's it going? Now, granted, I got master energy, of course, but however, I'm coming the same way. I'm smiling. I smile. So it's consistency. It's consistency. It's consistency. It's consistency. Whereas it's building a brand. Your reputation is already being formed. The brand recognition. That is super important. That's part of your infrastructure when those things are in place. And then the fourth one is increased productivity. So if you have a team, or you're building a team, because you don't want to be a one man wrecking crew, because sometimes that's very challenging to really build and expand properly. So when you increase productivity, if you have a team, guess what? If you have your team is crystal clear on their roles, their purpose, their productivity, all that stuff is in place. Number 5, it protects the business from instability, helps business and entrepreneurs survive economic shifts when people quit, business challenges occurs. Systems that are established cause less dependency on individuals. Number 6, infrastructure improves decision making. That means wise decision making, higher profitability, organization culture is established, leadership is developed and strengthened, healthy culture. Number 7, I gotta go fast, I gotta run out of time. Enhances customer experience, responds faster, solves problems, better delivery, smoother experience, creates loyal customer and stronger brand reputation. And number 8, it transforms vision into longevity. Ideas is a starting point. Running with those creative ideas is awesome. But when the infrastructure is in place, it turns ideas into enduring enterprise. I'm going to read that last one again. Ideas is a starting point, but infrastructure is in place, and it turns ideas into enduring enterprise. That is how infrastructure does it. So infrastructure enhances customer experience, and it transforms vision into longevity, which is at the end of the day, when it turns into longevity, you are turning profit, you are creating all kinds of revenue, you are building something that is spectacular. So that is my topic today. I got to end here shortly. I thank you all for hopping on. I thank you all for sharing, like with someone. This is Coach Honey. I'm happy that